¿Qué tal amigos? Mi nombre es Juan Carlos Canavaggio, bienvenido a un de Copas con. En el día de hoy tengo a una invitada muy especial y voy a cambiar al inglés. A special guest, Judith Lorick. Judith is an executive coach and a jazz singer, and I met Judith a few years ago under a most wonderful of situations in the middle of the pandemic, right? So I wanted to interview Judith and invite her to our show. So welcome, Judith, to our show.
Thank you so much. It's lovely to be here with you. It's always a pleasure to spend time with you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And we're going to learn today a little bit about Judith, her background, her love of champagne, her love of jazz music. She has a wonderful history. I would say you have many wonderful histories. And I would like you to share some with our viewers today while we enjoy a glass of Henriot champagne, which is, you know, your favorite drink. And maybe we're going to start with that. Why is champagne your favorite drink, Judith?
First of all, it's delicious. I love good champagne.
Good champagne.
Only good champagne.
That's right.
Okay. By the way,
thank you.
santé.
Santé.
And
Yes, we have to.
Yummy. And it's elegant. It's elegant. It looks beautiful. When I have a glass of champagne in my hand, I feel elegant. And for me, it's social. You know, I open a bottle of champagne with friends. We talk, we laugh, we clink. It looks, you know, the bubbles. It's a party. It's all happy.
There's a saying that the sound of champagne is the sound of happiness.
I love it.
You know, because when you hear the pop, you know that something's good gonna happen.
Exactly.
You know,
yeah.
you seldom hear pop and there's something bad happening, you know?
Right.
So it's champagne is the sound of happiness.
It is.
And I'm really happy that you're a champagne drinker that drinks champagne in any occasion. You know, which for a lot of people, for a lot of our viewers, you know, maybe champagne is something more of a occasional drink. You know, but for you, it might be a drink for any time.
It is a drink for any time. Yeah. And for me, you know, we were just talking about enjoying life, and this brings joy.
Right.
So why not do it whenever? And since I like it so much, I'd rather have this every evening for my aperitif than have something else.
That's right. And you like good champagne.
Yes.
You know, we met over very funny. You know, you can tell the story if you want, you know, but go ahead.
I'll tell the story.
Okay.
So I went out to dinner with a friend, and we were going to a restaurant for the first time. And since I didn't know their wine list, I took a bottle of Bollinger with me. And I said, you know, do you have a corkage fee? Can we have this wine? So we're sipping our champagne, and a woman walks over to the table. Turns out she was the manager. And she said, I see you like good champagne. And I said, yes, I do. And she said, there's someone you need to meet. And that was you. So she gave me your information, and that's when I reached out to you.
Well, that's great. And I'm glad she did, because that brought us here. And, you know, I remember that tour you made to France, to Buen, to Sorbet, which is, you know, champagne we have deep in our heart. And then you brought us to Clandestin. You know, these are under backdoor champagnes. We call them backdoor champagnes because we get so little champagne from both, you know, Bertrand Gautreau and Clandestin that those champagnes are really just allocated and you know, they're reserved, you know, and you know, Henriot is a great house, which we have more available for our customers. But I know you like some of these very rare bottles, and you appreciate those bottles.
Yes.
And champagne is actually a wine with bubbles, you know, and it can be deep, sophisticated, maybe a little bit oaky sometimes, you know, maybe a little bit like cherry style, you know, and with oxidized kind of like notes, and, you know, brioche and maybe toasted bread and nutty. And some people sometimes think that those kinds of champagnes are weird.
But those are my favorites.
Right, yeah.
They're my favorites. I remember when I went to Champagne some years ago, and we went to Celos. We went to Jacques Celos, and he was talking about He didn't use the word champagne. He used the word wine. So I
Wine.
appreciate what you just said. And when he was talking about his wine as if he were talking about the woman he was passionate about. I mean, it was just so beautiful. I thought, I'm going to love this man champagne. And I do. Yeah.
Yeah, he makes one of the best champagnes in the world. You know, his champagnes are wines that are so deep in the terroir and their strength and you know, body. And, you know, that's a definite great style of champagne. And it's sort of what we're bringing in, you know, of the brands that you like and the people that appreciate good champagne and that they understand that champagne is wine, you know, with bubbles, right? And, you know, we have this, I would say more of a traditional style of champagne for, you know, maybe lighter occasions or, you know, because it's very crisp, it's very light. But anyways, tell me a little bit about yourself, Judith.
Ooh, I have so many chapters in the book of my life. I'll have to pick and choose. So I'm originally from Philadelphia, and I arrived in Panama on it's a song, A Long and Winding Road. You know that song?
Yeah.
A long and winding road. Yeah. So I left to go to college, and I never went back to Philadelphia. I ended up in Washington, D.C., Boston, California, Germany. And then I moved to the south of France and stayed there for 28 years.
Wow.
So that's where I discovered my love of champagne, of good champagne. And then I went back to the States for a little while, to New York. And it was January 2020. And I was coming to Panama to a conference. And I had been thinking about leaving, you know, I had already actually given up my apartment. I had my household goods in storage, and I was deciding where I was going to go. And people thought I was a little nuts because I hadn't decided yet.
Right.
I told the moving company, when I figure it out, I'll let you know, just hold on to everything. So my plan was to come here for a week and then go to Europe. I really thought I would go back to Europe.
And stay there.
And stay there. But you know what?
Something draw you here,
Panama, there's something about Panama that gets me. And it's big because I know that in another life I was in the Mediterranean basin. It felt like home. I thought I would go back home. But this just drew me in. It took 2 days.
huh? Wow, that's
2
fast.
days.
So that's very fast.
And I got my apartment. I called the moving company and said, ship my goods to Panama. I still went to Europe because I had worked there and I needed to go. And then COVID hit.
Right.
So it took me a while. It was 7.5 months before they opened at Tocumen.
Oh my God.
And I was on the first flight in. It was hilarious. The flight arrived. We get off the flight. You know, I was one of the first people off the plane, and there was a band playing, and there was the TV station
In the middle of the pandemic, with a band
TV
playing.
station, and they were filming. I said, there must be a VIP on this flight. You know, what's going on? And then somebody said, this is the first flight allowed into the country since the beginning of the pandemic.
Wow. So they were celebrating.
So they were celebrating.
That's
and
funny.
we were on it. I was on it. I was so happy to get here.
Well, that's great. I mean, you know, I always wonder why people pick Panama as, you know, their second home or their, you know, maybe retirement destination or, and it's always curious for me. But I, being a Panamanian, I always feel also drawn to this country. There's something about it that is special. What drew you to Panama?
Everything.
Everything.
First, I felt so welcome, and everyone was so kind, and not just kind, but full of life, excited, you know, and it has everything. You know, Panama City has everything.
Right. That you need, yeah.
Everything that I need, but it's small.
It's small. It's manageable.
It's manageable. So, you know, there are the arts and fabulous restaurants and the ocean and music, and it's just, and I feel safe.
That's important. Yeah.
That's really important because I live alone.
Right.
I never feel unsafe here.
That's great.
And it's a beautiful feeling. I can't say I felt like that in New York,
Right.
you know. And I feel welcome. And it helps that, you know, I speak the language, and I love learning about other cultures and other people.
And the people are nice to you.
Oh yeah, beautiful.
They open up.
Everywhere.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. You know, sometimes we don't really have that view because we're here all the time. You know, and we take a lot of things for granted, maybe. But it's always good to refresh those ideas and those feelings that maybe we take for granted.
Yeah.
You know, and that's great. And well, you know, since I met you, I've had, you know, the most wonderful stories I've heard from you. You know, from being an executive to a jazz singer, making that, you know, change in your life, living in the south of France. Tell me a little bit how that went.
I have always been someone who jumps off the cliff. I jump in with both feet. I don't believe in living halfway. And I am blessed to have had a mother who told me from birth, you can do anything in life. And I don't feel like I'd be living if I played it safe. I'll just put it that way.
Okay.
I've done some crazy things. I've taken some big risks. And they have created this life that I love here. You know, and as a coach, so I coach executives and companies around the world, and I've been doing this work for a very, very long time. I was a human resources executive for many years, and then I woke up one day and thought, I need to sing. My colleagues thought I had lost my mind. I had a great job. They had just offered me a huge promotion. I had my house by the beach in California. I had all, my car, all that. But I needed to sing.
Right.
So
you had a calling, and you were.
When they offered me the next job, I quit. I said, I'm very sorry, but it's time for me to go. And I was a single mom at that time. My child was 3 years old.
Wow.
But I left the corporation and I started singing. And you know, I also believe that when you really believe and you put your energy there and you do the necessary work.
Right, you got to do the work.
You got to do the work. Things work out. And it's not always easy. I had some really tough times, but I'll tell you, I didn't have the stuff anymore, but my soul was filled and I loved my life and I was present for my child.
Right.
Instead of flying all over the country, all the time. And then we had an earthquake.
Oh my God.
We had an earthquake and I thought, oh no, I'm a little bit of a control freak. Totally out of my control.
Right.
And I thought, oh, no, we're not going to do this. So I thought, okay, I can either go back to the East Coast, which is, home, or I can follow my dream. And I had gone to Europe the first time when I was in college because I was majoring in languages. So I went over to study and I thought, I have to follow my dream. I left California with a 6-year-old. I think I had $1,000 in my pocket.
Oh my God.
I had no job. But I knew it was going to be okay. And I think that's the bottom line. I always know it's going to be okay. What I have to get through to get there is not important because I know I can manage it.
Right.
You know. And there were moments with no food. I mean, there were some really tough moments, but it's worth it when you see what you get in the end. It took some years to really get settled in, and I was able to give my child a life and to have a life I would not have had we not done that.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, it's an amazing story. A lot of people are afraid of making those decisions and making those such a radical change. Especially when you have a kid and you want stability, and big. Obviously you were thinking also about the time you wanted to spend with your kid.
Yeah.
And that, your current situation wasn't going to give you that. You 180-degree flip across the world because you went to a completely different country. But it's also a country that always kind of drew to you, right?
Yeah. When I went back in the day, when I was in school, it was really strange. I was going to go study in Spain, and I had flown into Germany, and I was so innocent. My mother wouldn't let me go unless I spent the first few weeks with my cousin. Okay, so my mother, was so innocent. She didn't know she was sending her miniskirt clad daughter to an army base.
Oh my God.
But she knew he would take care of me, so it was okay. Anyway, I was on the train going from there to Barcelona, and the train stopped in Nice. So what kid wouldn't get off the train? So I got off, and it hit me. I knew I had been there before in another life. The air smelled familiar. It felt familiar on my skin. I almost knew where to walk and where to go. And I thought, someday I'm coming back. So that was why when the earthquake hit and I thought, okay, it's now or never.
I'm going to that familiar place.
I'm going. So I went. And I think and I get it. Fear makes us stop.
True.
Fear puts up a block for us.
Right, a wall, yeah.
A wall. And if we're not able to get past that fear, then we stay in our comfort zone. Right?
True.
Maybe I'm a little crazy, but I don't have that fear because I have a lot of faith, and I do believe that things happen the way they're supposed to. Right? So that allows me to just go for it. It allows me to go. And as I said to all the people who thought I had lost my mind again because I was leaving the U.S. and going to France, what's the worst thing that can happen? It doesn't work. So what happens? I go back home.
Right.
Whenever I ask myself that question, the response is not bad enough to make me stop.
Right.
I mean, of course, it could be you're going to die, but I'm going to die anyway. So I'll either die here or there. So other than that, the worst thing is things don't work out. Well, then retreat.
Right.
And it's okay.
And it's okay.
It's not a failure.
Right. It's okay to make a mistake.
Yes.
And you said something very, very good, which is that when you have that feeling that you have to walk that road and make that jump, doors are going to start opening for you, and the path is going to slowly show itself. I mean, you got to work it.
Yes.
But it's going to the light's going to shine, and you're going to walk the road.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And if it's the wrong road, obstacles are going to start appearing.
Right.
So then you got to do another one.
Right.
If the universe keeps putting blocks in front of me, then I have to reassess.
Right.
What am I doing and why am I doing this?
True.
What are my alternatives? Is there something else to do? But I'm not going to stop in my tracks.
True.
Because that's not living for me. It's not.
Right. It is not. And I think it's a wonderful lesson, for everybody, to be able to make those decisions, and take a risk in a new business, maybe in a new relationship, in a new career,
Yeah.
In your case, many.
Yep.
And I mean, I love music, I love music, and you went from being, an executive in a very important corporation to being a jazz singer, and that opened up a whole new world for you, and in France, and I want you to run us a little bit over about that part of your life.
Okay. I'm going to go back to what you said, which is when you've made the right decision, doors open.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And when I decided I wanted to sing, I was living in Southern California, and I knew nothing about the music business. I had sung my whole life since I was like 4 years old or something,
right.
3 years old. But in school and church and all that, never thought I would do it as a career. So I basically approached it the way that I would approach finding any other job. I looked around, where are the places I'd want to work? Who are the people I would want to work with, right? Talked to a band, and they rolled their eyes at first, but then when they heard me, they said, okay, fine. Prepared a tape. Back in those days, it was tape. There weren't other things. Prepared a tape, prepared a CV, a resume.
Yeah, resume. Yeah,
right?
CV. Yeah.
And then I saw this hotel in construction, the Hotel Méridien, and I thought, that's the kind of place I want to sing in, right? So I found out, I don't even remember how I found out, it was so many years ago, who the general manager was going to be. So I wrote him a letter. In those days, it was a letter.
Right.
And I included my tape and my stuff. So then I get a response. I love the sound of your voice. Come and meet me. Now, I was so naive, I had no clue what to ask for. But I knew what I wanted.
Right.
So we started talking, and he said, well, tell me what you need. So I told him I wanted a year's contract, making this much money, these hours, this number of days. And you know what he said? Put it in writing, it'll be your contract.
Wow.
And I had no idea what I had just gotten.
Right.
Until the other singers in town, we were like a sisterhood. We would get together and share music and talk. And they said, we were wondering, who is this woman who has shown up in town and got the best gig? Nobody had a year's gig. Nobody made that much money. And I said, it was because I didn't know any better. And it taught me something, because I realized, and this is true here, it's true everywhere. Musicians, singers have gotten so beaten down by the system, they no longer have the strength to ask for what they deserve.
True.
And since I had no clue, I just asked for what I wanted, and I got it. So I said to myself, self, you will work less than a lot of people, but when you work, it will be on your terms.
Right.
And that's the way I have led my career. So in California, and then I moved to France, and again, I made the right decision. So people say, oh, what a coincidence. I don't believe in coincidence. I arrived the first night, friends invite me to a dinner in Cannes. I go in, they say, oh, she's a jazz singer. Oh, will you sing a song? Can I please have my dinner? So after dinner, I sang a song. They offered me a gig for the summer.
Oh, wow.
I'm singing there. In walks an elegant couple one night, and they invite me for champagne at their table. And the gentleman says, I've just finished building my hotel in Nice, and I'd love for you to open the piano bar. When I finished that gig, I had another gig. And that's the way it went all of the time. And it told me I was on the right path.
Right. That's amazing. And it's true, it's very odd how things work, but they work like that, It's like, you have this path and light that shows up, and you just keep on following that
and
path.
It's okay.
And
Although it's not always perfect.
No, it's not always perfect. Let me serve you a little bit more champagne.
I mean, I've made mistakes. I've trusted people I shouldn't trust.
Well, we all do that. I think it's part of life.
Big setbacks, but I figure it's all part of life, as you say. And it's okay.
And it's okay.
And it's okay. And I'd say, how could you be so naive, Judith? Well, let me forgive myself and not dwell on that, and then move on and learn from what just happened.
Right.
I
think most of the time, we just gotta move on.
Yeah.
Just, hey, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay, just move on. Forget about it.
Yeah. Because if we hang on to rancor or anger, that's what makes us sick.
True.
Quite honestly.
That is true. That is true.
And that's what takes our joy away.
That is true. So if we want to listen to you here in Panama, for all our viewers, it's like, oh, Judith, the great jazz singer, I want to go listen to her. Where can we listen to you here in Panama?
Right now, I'm singing in 2 different places.
Uh-huh.
So one is an Italian restaurant in San Francisco called Salotto Italiano.
Okay.
It's lovely. An Italian couple own it, and they love the arts. So they do all kinds of music and art. And they do painting with wine, and they have an exhibit of art up on their mezzanine, and different artists come in. And once a month, I sing there with my band. Mm-hmm. And then there is the club in the American Trade Hotel.
Okay.
The jazz club. I'm there once a month as well.
That's great.
And it's so much fun. I am having so much fun. And the public is fabulous. I have people who are following me who don't speak English. Mm-hmm. And so it's funny, I go in and I always say, anybody who doesn't speak English, and I say, be brave, tell me, because then I speak in both languages.
Okay.
Otherwise it's a lot simpler to do what we're doing today, which is I just speak it in English. But since I talk, for me, music is communication.
Right.
So it is singing, but it's also talking, and it's also interacting with the people in the audience. So I want to make sure people understand, even if they can't understand all the lyrics.
Right. And you also opened up for the Panama Jazz Festival.
I did this year, yeah.
And was it with the same band, or was it a different band?
Same band.
Same band?
But a bigger band.
Okay.
Because normally in a small place, you can't have so many. Usually I'm working with a trio plus a horn or a guitar.
Okay.
So it can be a sax or a trumpet or a guitar. For the festival, I had the trio, piano, bass, and drums. Everything's acoustic. I love acoustic instruments. Plus a trumpet, a saxophone, and percussionist. I love percussion. That's why I was really loving seeing your
We've got a lot of percussion
here.
around here.
Yes.
Yeah, that's funny.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny. So who are your favorite jazz influences?
I grew up in a household where there was music from morning till night. My mother had the most beautiful voice. She sang in church. But she had been invited as a young woman to go on the road with a big band.
Okay.
But her daddy would not let her go, and he was so smart because I told you how innocent she was, even as an older adult, they would have eaten her alive.
Oh my God.
So he was smart to not let her go. But she played music, all the vocalists. So I grew up listening to Sarah Vaughan, Billie Holiday, Billy Eckstine, Nancy Wilson, Carmen McRae, all of the great singers, Dinah Washington. So when I started singing, I didn't have to learn any songs.
Because you had listened to
I
them
had like
since childhood.
350 songs in my head, literally.
Wow. Right.
You look at my books, my music books are like this fat, and the musicians, when they first meet me, they're like, oh my God. And these poor guys, every week I'm like, we have 10 new songs to learn. Because I get bored. I don't want to sing the same songs over and over again. I want new stuff all the time. And they are so wonderful. There is such, the level of musicianship here is much higher than I expected.
Oh, really? That's great.
These guys are really top level, and I have to hand it to Danilo Perez and his foundation. They have trained so many of these kids, and then they go off. They go to Berkeley in Boston, or they go to Puerto Rico, or they go to some conservatory, and then they come home. Which is what I love. They come home, and they play so beautifully.
We were just talking the other day with another entrepreneur, and he has a business in California, and he was saying, one of the great things about a lot of Panamanians is that they come back home. And the only way to enrich this country is bring the talent back.
Yes.
So we need to build opportunities for everybody to come back.
Yes.
And if we want this country to advance, to make progress in the right direction, we need those people to come back home.
Absolutely.
And we need to make the right choices and provide the right environment for all those people.
Yeah.
So that's wonderful what you're saying. So anyways, we know where to listen to you, and we know you got new music coming along, and I'm sure your band is always like, oh my God, we got to learn these new songs all the time.
But they're also having fun.
I'm sure they are.
They are, and that's the thing. It has to be fun. We all have to have fun, because if we have fun, people in the audience have fun.
I'm sure.
Right.
Definitely.
So.
And Panama is becoming more and more cultural country. We got more gigs. We got theater. It's wonderful. I think the last, I would say maybe 5 years. I would say maybe 5 or 8 years.
Yeah.
Have been a great advance in culture. And having you decide to come to Panama and make it your home. It's great for us, because we can listen to you, and hopefully we can listen to more people and see people come here and provide us, with their great talent.
Yes.
So anyway, Judith, is there any other message you would like to send to our audience?
Oh my goodness, that's a big one.
That's a big question,
That's a big question.
As a coach,
my goodness.
as a coach.
Oh my God. All right, I have a couple.
Okay.
It's really okay to make mistakes, so just go for it. Just try, know what brings you joy, know what your passion is, and then go for it. And believe in it, and doors will open. We so often blame, good blame or bad blame, things in our lives on other people.
Right.
And I believe we own our lives, and it's up to us to create the life that we want. And we create that life through our choices. So it's important to learn young how to make choices.
True.
And make sure you make good choices that will take you on the path that you want to be on. Because if you don't make that choice, somebody else will make it for you, and you will end up living somebody else's life.
True.
Right?
That is true.
And if you make a mistake, it's okay. Forgive yourself and just move on. And the other one is drink champagne and have a good time, because life is too short.
I'll cheer to that.
Cheers.
That's great. Well, thank you, Judith, very much for coming to our show. We have many guests. I think this is one of the most enjoying interviews I've had so far.
Well,
and
thank you.
I had a pleasure of listening to all your stories and to continue our friendship. And hopefully you can come another day and put us up to date on your life and your stories. But anyways, thank you, everybody. Muchas gracias a todos. Muchas gracias, Judith. Y los esperamos en cava.pa. Y bueno, como saben, en Riot lo pueden comprar en cava.pa y nos pueden seguir en nuestras redes. Muchas gracias a todos. Salud.
Salud.